Nobody ever tells you how quietly a division can slip out of your hands until you're standing there afterward, arguing with referees while the stadium lights are already starting to dim. This wasn't a dramatic implosion, no viral blooper, no single play that screamed disaster. It was something more unsettling than that. A slow, grinding realization that when one key piece disappears, the entire machine doesn't just lose power, it starts operating on the wrong geometry. Pittsburgh didn't need brilliance on Sunday. They didn't need a masterpiece. They needed something boring, controlled, almost forgettable. The kind of win that clinches a division and lets everyone exhale. Instead, they got a game that exposed a truth about this roster, about Aaron Rodgers at this stage of his career, and about how fragile win now really is when the margins get tight. There's one detail that actually decided this game, and it's not the final drive, not the sack chase, not even the interceptions. It's something subtler, something structural. I'll come back to it because once you see it, you can't unsee it. On the surface, the storyline felt obvious. The Browns' season was already cooked. No playoff dreams, no long-term stakes, just pride, cold weather, and one looming subplot: Myles Garrett chasing history. One more sack and Aaron Rodgers becomes a trivia answer in the wrong column of the record book. Rodgers knew it. You could see it in the way he played. Every drop back felt calculated. Every pocket step came with a glance toward the edge. He avoided becoming a Myles Garrett moment. And that, ironically, may have been the first quiet concession of the afternoon. Because when a quarterback is surviving instead of dictating, the offense slowly loses its spine. Mike Tomlin said afterward that Garrett's pursuit of the sack record didn't change the game plan. And schematically, that might be true. But football plans don't exist on paper. They exist in timing, confidence, and the freedom to let plays develop. That freedom wasn't there. Early on, the game felt like it was waiting for someone to blink. Cleveland handed the offense to Shedeur Sanders and didn't ask him to be a hero. They asked him to manage chaos. Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. He threw 2 interceptions that should have tilted the entire afternoon toward Pittsburgh. In most games with division stakes, those are the moments that flip belief. They didn't, and that's where the season started to bend. Because turning turnovers into 0 points is one of the fastest ways to drain momentum without anyone noticing. No booze, no panic, just a scoreboard that refuses to change while your opportunities evaporate. Rodgers had moments. He wasn't reckless, he wasn't overwhelmed, but he was constrained by pressure, by coverage, and by something far more important than a single defender. DK Metcalf wasn't on the field, and that absence didn't just remove a target. It rewired everything. This is the part most fans miss when they watch highlights. Metcalf isn't just a deep threat, he's an architectural piece. His presence stretches the field horizontally and vertically at the same time. Safeties cheat, corners hesitate, linebackers widen their drops. Pass rush lanes soften because coverage has to breathe. Take that piece away and the entire offense compresses. Routes that normally open feel crowded. Windows close faster. The quarterback's internal clock speeds up, not because he's slower, but because the field is smaller. Cleveland didn't need exotic blitzes to disrupt Rodgers. They just needed patience and discipline in coverage because Pittsburgh no longer had the leverage to punish them outside. That's why the Browns' pressure worked even when Garrett wasn't getting home. It wasn't about sacks, it was about time. By the fourth quarter, this game had become exactly what Cleveland wanted: ugly, narrow, and unforgiving. And when Pittsburgh finally got the ball late, the kind of drive Rodgers was brought here to engineer, everything felt rushed. 4 straight incompletions, turnover on downs. Cleveland took the gift, kicked a field goal, and forced Rodgers into a desperation scenario. Full field, little time, no margin, and for a moment it almost worked. Rodgers moved the ball. He commanded the offense. With seconds left, Pittsburgh was inside the Cleveland 10. This was the edge of legacy territory, the place where veteran quarterbacks turn chaos into inevitability. But inevitability requires options. Without Metcalf, there was no matchup to force the issue, no receiver who demanded double coverage, no safety who had to choose wrong. Denzel Ward took the assignment personally, blanketed the routes, and dared Rodgers to throw somewhere else. He couldn't. Rodgers wanted a flag on the final play. He said it was interference. Ward shrugged it off. By then, it almost didn't matter. The play that Pittsburgh needed, the one that defines seasons, never materialized. Tomlin said afterward that they didn't make the signature play that gets you over the hump. That sentence should echo. Because this wasn't about one loss. This loss handed control of the division away. It forced Pittsburgh into a Week 18 collision with Baltimore, with everything on the line. For a team built around a veteran quarterback, that's not where you want to be. That's where roster construction gets exposed. And quietly, Cleveland walked away with something too. Shedeur Sanders didn't dominate, he didn't overwhelm, but he did something more important. He stayed functional inside structure. He made enough plays, survived his mistakes, and trusted that his defense would finish. That's not flashy, but it's how teams with identity win games they're not supposed to. Afterward, emotions spilled over. Rodgers jawed with players and officials. Pride was bruised. Cleveland celebrated a win that meant more than standings. Pittsburgh stared down a week that will define their season. So, here's the unresolved tension that makes this story dangerous. When one piece goes missing, are you a team that adapts or a team that hopes talent will bail it out anyway? The Steelers hoped. The Browns forced structure. Now Pittsburgh has 1 week to prove this roster is more than reputation and resume. 1 game to show they can create leverage without perfect conditions. 1 chance to decide whether this season is a stepping stone or a warning. Because in the NFL, you can survive pressure once, maybe twice. But championships aren't built on survival, they're built on structure. And right now, the Steelers are about to find out which one they really have. It wasn't the sack that changed everything. All week, everyone talked about Myles Garrett. 1 more sack and history was his. 1 more takedown and Aaron Rodgers would be on the wrong side of an NFL record nobody wants their name attached to. Rodgers knew it. Garrett knew it. Everyone in that stadium knew it. And yet, the real damage didn't come from Garrett getting home. It came from what Pittsburgh couldn't do once they survived him. Because on a day when the Steelers had a chance to lock up their first division title in years, they walked off the field realizing something far more uncomfortable. They're still not built to finish games like this. Not yet. This matchup wasn't supposed to feel dramatic. Cleveland's season had been over for weeks. No playoff chase, no real pressure, just pride, weather, and another chapter in the Turnpike rivalry. Pittsburgh, though, had everything on the line. Control of the AFC North. A chance to avoid Week 18 chaos. A chance to prove that bringing Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh was about moments exactly like this. And from the opening snap, you could feel the tension in how Rodgers played. Every dropback felt cautious. Every glance toward the edge came with a quick check of where number 95 was lining up. Rodgers avoided becoming a Myles Garrett highlight, but in doing so, the Steelers' offense never found rhythm. Mike Tomlin said afterward that Garrett's chase for the sack record didn't change the game plan. But the film tells a quieter truth. This was an offense playing not to lose, instead of playing to win. From Cleveland's side, the storyline was simple. Garrett, pride. And another look at Shedeur Sanders under center. Sanders didn't play fearless. He played careful. Sometimes too careful. Sometimes reckless. Early on, Cleveland moved the ball just enough. Wind whipping, conditions ugly, nothing pretty. But it was enough to put Pittsburgh behind and force Rodgers to chase the game on Cleveland's terms. And here's where this game really turned. Not on a touchdown, not on a sack, but on missed opportunities. Twice, Shedeur Sanders gave Pittsburgh the ball back with interceptions. In games like this, those moments are supposed to swing momentum, flip belief, break a team that doesn't have much left to play for. The Steelers got nothing. 0 points. That's when the warning sirens should have gone off. Against the league's best pass defense, Rodgers couldn't punish Cleveland for their mistakes. The Browns crowded windows, sat on routes, took away anything vertical, and without DK Metcalf on the field, Pittsburgh had no one who demanded extra attention. Everything shrank, routes got tighter,